This is an update 10 years later. In my last video, I mentioned that my mother brought me along with her to the United States just a few days before I turned 2 years old. I am thankful that she migrated to the U.S. because she found great care for my epilepsy and a good education, which she didn't find in Chiapas, Mexico in the late 90s. At age 16, I was granted DACA, and I was able to use that temporary permission to receive partial funding for college. I had no idea what I was doing or what I even wanted as a career. I stayed in college because I wanted to make my family proud, but also because I knew I had to be a perfect immigrant if I wanted to be a good candidate when facing my immigration cases. During my college years, I struggled to keep a roof over my head and to put food on the table, mainly because I refused to quit my college courses. I applied for student loans, including the university loan, but I was denied due to my status. I was also denied for student food stamps due to my status. This led me to neglect my health, and eventually I faced a few health issues. In 2014, my mother was attacked while she was at work. It was a typical day for her as a housekeeper at a hotel when a stranger walked into the room where she was cleaning, and he began to attack, chase, and drag and strangle her. She fought for her life, and the man got away. My mom's coworkers suggested to my mom to apply for the Visa U, so she did. This was the first time my mother had a U.S. work permit, which was under pending status, and my permit was converted from DACA to pending. Sometime in this timeline, Trump got elected, and students who were undocumented like me began to receive deportation threats. I began seeing Trump supporters protest against undocumented students on campus every other day, and this hurt because school was once my safe place. This caused my anxiety to substantially increase, and I could no longer succeed in my courses, but I continued to try my best. In 2019, my mom and I received our visas. This did not mean that I qualified for any additional benefits, but it was a more secure legal status compared to DACA. I barely graduated college in December of 2019. My anxiety was still at its highest. I had unknowingly reached chronic anxiety, so my grades at graduation were pretty low, and so was my GPA. I wasn't able to obtain more than one internship during my college career due to the lack of student loans and financial stability. For years, I only had enough money for rent, food, and tuition. After graduating, my chronic anxiety continued, and at this point, it was the middle of COVID-19 pandemic. I began to have a drinking problem. I was drinking with my friends once or twice a week, sometimes alone. I felt like such a failure and embarrassment because I was supposed to be successful. Eventually, I received help, and I began to see a very good therapist who has changed my life. On year 3 of having the visas, we qualified to apply for the permanent residency. In 2024, my mom and I were finally granted a permanent residency. When my mother and I arrived to the U.S. in 1997, my grandmother was alive, and now that we finally get to visit her, we will visit her gravesite this April. We will also visit family members that we haven't seen in over 25 years. I will finally see my biological father after 27 years. Since receiving permanent residency, I have been considering pursuing a master's in marriage and family therapy and eventually become a licensed therapist. I reach a point where I can finally feel safe and confident to pursue a dream. While DACA is a temporary permission to stay in the U.S., it does not lead to any path to permanent residency or citizenship. What happened to my mother is not luck, but it was the only path that we ever had that led us to obtain permanent residency. Not everyone has the same experience with trying to obtain a visa U or permanent residency. I am only one case out of many.